The actual models that we sell quite a bit of are starting out with the SC2400. The SC2400 can be configured in so many different ways: tractor only, tractor loader deck, tractor deck only. Seems like tractor deck is really very popular the last 2 years. People with large property areas that want to do some tilling, they want to do the mowing, but they don't necessarily need a front loader. That model really sells. Now, that model really sells at around $10,000 to $11,000. Now, when you get above that, that model starts slacking off. When you start getting in above $11,000, those people are wanting to look at a 2900 or 3200. They're wanting a little bit larger tractor. They're wanting something that has a front loader on it. And of course, they're trying to negotiate a price with you. But as far as those two tractors are concerned, the need for a 29 and a 32 is probably there because of price point. Then you get into the EX450s. Now, the EX450 is a nice tractor, and everybody wants to look at that tractor, but not everybody's going to buy that tractor. That 450 is something that's going to be a very large property owner. They're not going to want to mow grass with it. They're wanting to do more large property maintenance, moving bales of hay around, doing a lot of bush hogging, things of that nature. And a lot of times, actually several of my sales on EX450 has been to industrial type places. One of my customers only mows the grass, okay, but they have one guy that mows the grass, and that's all he does all week long. He's mowing 20 plus acres of grass. So they needed the front loader for snow removal if that ever happens in Tennessee, but they wanted it because it pulled a great big lawnmower. Okay, the other guy that comes to mind owns a nursery just down the road from the dealership from me. That guy is using this thing for tilling, front loading, doing a lot of landscape work, and he needed a bigger tractor in order to take on the workload that he's got. The SC2400, the two things that step out in my mind, or set out in my mind, are the shift-on-the-go transmission. People love that, and the tight turning radius. They think that they are getting a real great big tractor, but it's still going to turn like a lawnmower. They love that. And the fact that it's four-wheel drive, we're living in hilly terrain, so that makes up for a lot too. The go-to features on the EX2900 and EX3200, it's a mid-size tractor. They feel like they've actually got a big tractor, all right, in a mid-size tractor with a mid-size tractor price. So if you can grab that customer who he really probably only needed a 2400, but it's a man thing, and they want to go up to a 29 or 32, of course you're not going to stop them, you're going to encourage it. On the EX450, the hot selling points on those, that synchronized transmission is really nice. But most of all, it's just a big tractor. That people like big tractors. Now, not everybody has the budget for a big tractor. And like I said before, everybody wants to look at an EX450, but not everybody's going to buy an EX450. It's a very specific person that you're trying to target. Price point definitely is going to be setting you apart from the other brands right now. I've got a Kubota dealership 15 miles down the road from me. You'll have the guy who, I'm not going to buy a Kubota because everybody else has a Kubota. Then you have the guy that his daddy had a John Deere and his daddy had a John Deere, and that guy you're not going to get. So what you're looking for is the person that's first coming into a compact tractor. They've never had one before. They've maybe driven them on an uncle's farm or something like that way back in the day, but you're trying to get him. You're not trying to switch brands. It's just not going to happen. As far as Yanmar brand is concerned on trying to win sales from other products or other brands, parts availability is a big thing, okay? Closeness to the dealership is even a bigger thing. It wouldn't matter, to an extent, it wouldn't matter what brand you were selling. If a guy's 2 miles from your dealership, he's probably going to look at you. Now, everybody recognizes the Cub Cadet name. Guys that are in compact tractor market recognize the Yanmar name because of the John Deere stuff. So a lot of what goes on is Cub Cadet, I know what that is. All right, Yanmar, isn't that what they put in John Deere's? Okay, if it's going in John Deere's, why wouldn't it be a good tractor? So it's making it that much easier to sell these things because you have two names that are very recognizable. If you can say, okay, the Kubota has this, well, Cub Cadet Yanmar has this. All right, and they say, well, what about a John Deere? Well, if you want to pay X amount of dollars more for a John Deere, sure, go ahead. But you're getting basically the same features with basically the same drivetrains in them as what the John Deere is going to have. And that's an honest answer. That's about as honest as I can get it. I compare that kind of thing as far as trying to get you to buy my brand over another one. I compare it to the John Deere all the time. The only thing that I would have a downside to the internet with, if you go to Cub Cadet's webpage, all right, it's easy to navigate to get to where the tractors are. Now, there's no pricing on the tractors, which is a good thing for the dealership and a bad thing for the dealership. The guy has no idea where your tractors are going to start pricing at, and they don't know with any other brand. So that leads you down to the dealership. If you're interested enough to come to the dealership, you're trying to figure out a price. Internet is great because they list all these specifications and everything like that, really informs the customer. Most of the time, if you get an internet savvy guy in here, all right, he's going to know just exactly what you know about the tractor. It puts you on your toes as far as knowing, okay, what's the lift capacity on EX3200? On the loader, on the 3-point hitch, on, how big of a bush hog can it carry? Those kind of things your customer already knows. You can't make yourself look like an idiot by not knowing it. So the internet actually puts the dealership on their toes and the salesman on their toes to say, okay, this is the tractor, all right, this is what I know about it. Any question that you're asking me, I can find out in 5 minutes, okay? If I don't know it, I can find out. They probably already know, so it's more of a test than it is anything. And the internet's great for advertising. Everybody goes surfs the internet. What do you do when you find out, okay, new tractor's coming out, I'm looking for a tractor, what are you going to do? I'm going to go check it out on the net. Guy walks in off the street and he throws a couple leading questions your way. He's been on the internet and he knows exactly what he's talking about. If you know those answers too, it's going to make that transition of him trusting you a whole lot more. If he throws out what's the 3-point hitch capacity and you don't know, well, he's not going to think you know anything about your product. You have to be up on what the specs are. One of the best movers right now, being that we're in the winter and everything, we've had a lot of action on the SC2450. Now, that's something I haven't touched on yet, but the SC2450 is basically an SC2400 that's capable of a backhoe. Now, it's a backhoe dedicated unit. You have to buy it with the backhoe, but that is bringing a lot of interest in. And one of the major questions is, will it take a belly mower and can I take that backhoe off? The answer is yes, you can. And that's a do-all machine. So we're getting a lot of interest with that. With attachments, you have a very mixed emotion with me. Number one, if you are talking about a guy who wants a Cub Cadet Yanmar because it's black and yellow and it looks tough, all right? You don't want a big red bush hog hanging behind it. You want a black and yellow bush hog, okay? I actually sold a guy from a John Deere that I was priced identically on. He come back to me because they wanted to sell him a King Cutter brand bush hog. And he thought my Befco brand Cub Cadet Yanmar bush hog that was sitting there was the Cub Cadet Yanmar. He wanted the bush hog that went behind that tractor. Now, you're going to have that guy, then you're going to have the guy that says, I don't care what it is, it's a bush hog. All right, I don't care what it is, it's a rototiller. I'm looking for price. So you have to have the implement that's going to, or the attachment that's going to work with both guys. I like selling attachments, okay? I like selling attachments when you sell the tractor. Now, a lot of times that doesn't happen. You get the repeat customer that can't afford it right then, so he comes back. All right? I try to upsell those attachments with a finance plan, especially by adding it to the finance plan. Guys love that. All right? If you have that Cub Cadet Yanmar brand customer, this is what I'm going to buy, then you can usually get him to go ahead and do the attachments that he thinks he's going to need. Now, if you are getting the guy that's scraping by just trying to get a tractor going, he doesn't care what brand it is. So you sell him whatever you can. You have to be extremely flexible on where your price points are and what brand of attachment or implement that you are going to carry. One of the biggest selling features that we have trying to sell a Cub Cadet Yanmar brand attachment, it goes with your tractor. It was meant for your tractor. Why go buy a Woods backhoe or a Woods front loader for this tractor when you can buy that Cub Cadet Yanmar brand attachment that is meant for your tractor? It's the one it was born with. So why go spend basically the same amount of money on an off-brand or a aftermarket attachment when you can buy it right there at the dealership?